You know, the other big issue was the Dobbs decision, of course. In the nomination contest this spring, Republicans who competed in the state identified themselves as, quote, 100% pro-life. May 3rd, the draft opinion overturning Roe v. Wade was leaked. January 24th, the U.S. Supreme Court decision. And then to add more fuel to the fire, in September, Senator Lindsey Graham announced that he would push for a federal abortion ban at 15 weeks. Danny, how great a political challenge did all of that create for the Republican candidates? And what was your strategy then going forward from that point?
I actually don't think the Dobbs decision impacted these races at all. I think that for cycle after cycle, Republicans are being told, or that Democrats are talking about Republicans in their extreme abortion positions, and I think that happens cycle after cycle. I don't think the Dobbs changed that. I don't think if Dobbs wouldn't have happened, I think the same ads are run against Kiggins, Hunkau, and Yesli Vega. So I don't know the Dobbs decision specifically. I think abortion as a topic was always going to be a factor in these races, and I think as we saw, if you look at the most outside spending, if by ad group, it was in all of these races combined, it was about abortion from the Democrats on Republicans, in the same way that Republicans' top issue on outside spending was inflation in the economy. So obviously, I think it matters. To what extent does it matter? And does it matter more than inflation or more than the economy? I think that's the question of the day. In the second, I think the abortion didn't matter as much in that district as it may have mattered in some of these Northern Virginia places.
Corinne, what do you have?
I think it mattered. I do think it drove turnout and it drove a purpose. And Democratic voters need a purpose. They need a reason to come out and vote. And this was a big reason to come out and vote. Now, I do agree that it probably has a different tilt in the second because, again, Virginia is a big state, but it's not the same everywhere. And how you talk about abortion and choice in the 7th is different from how you should talk about it in the second. And I think the more that Democratic candidates understand those nuances, the better we will be able to do and tap into when there is a moment like Dobbs gave us.
Did it propel swing voters to Democrats in both those districts, or would you argue that happened more in the 7th than the 2nd?
I think, I can't wait to get the nuances of some of the numbers, but I do think it propelled swing voters in the 7th, for sure. I think the combination of choice and the economy and Spanberger's message on the economy and deliverables, solutions, really propelled independence to come our way.
Dan, let me drill down a little bit more, though, in the 7th, the issue that cropped up, after the Dobbs decision. There was another leak of sorts, and that was that audio tape in which Yesli Vega appeared to agree with a woman who questioned whether rape could result in pregnancy. So the Spanberger campaign, as we saw in ad after ad, made that a centerpiece, played that video over and over, or referenced it. I mean, was there any way that Yesli Vega could have overcome that stumble, I guess, on her part?
Yeah, and I think there was, and unfortunately, goes back to being 3 seats and flipping seats is difficult, and the power of incumbency. When all the dust settles here, Spanberger will have outspent Yesli Vega 3.5, 4 to 1. That allowed her to go on TV and define a message. So she was able to take that clip, and this is part of having a good fundraising apparatus and being an incumbent member of Congress. She was able to immediately go on and define Yesli Vega when Yesli Vega couldn't define herself and had to define herself later. So she was playing catch up in the race from a resource allocation. So I would say it got magnified because there was a megaphone behind it, and that megaphone was a large pot of money when Yesli couldn't tell her own story at that point in the race because of her resources.